Everything you know about the Netherlands is wrong.
When most people think about the Netherlands, they picture tulip fields, bicycles, peaceful canals, and old windmills turning slowly in the breeze. But hidden beneath that beautiful postcard is one of the most dangerous engineering experiments on Earth.
Imagine living in a city that should not exist. A city built below sea level.
A place where enormous cargo ships pass higher than your rooftop, where millions of people sleep safely only because giant machines never stop working. And if those machines fail for even a few hours, entire cities disappear underwater.
This is not science fiction. This is the Netherlands. And scientists are becoming increasingly worried. Because new reports show something terrifying.
The ocean is beginning to overpower the systems that once made the Dutch untouchable.
The country is sinking.
Sea levels are rising.
Saltwater is invading from underground. And the terrifying part? Most people living there don't even realize how close the water truly is. Today, we are uncovering the hidden war between the Netherlands and the sea.
A war humanity has been fighting for nearly 1,000 years. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why one of the richest and smartest countries on Earth is still terrified every time a storm approaches the coast.
Because the truth is, the Netherlands was never supposed to survive. Imagine it's late at night in Rotterdam. The streets are quiet. People are sitting in restaurants. Families are watching television. Tourists are taking photos beside the canals. Everything feels normal. Then suddenly, an alert appears. A massive storm is moving toward the Dutch coast.
Within minutes, ship traffic stops.
Warning systems activate.
And deep inside Europe's largest port, something enormous begins to move.
Not by human command. By computer.
Slowly, two gigantic steel arms emerge from the darkness. Each one is nearly as long as the Eiffel Tower.
Together, they form the Maeslantkering, one of the largest moving structures ever built by humanity.
And this machine exists for one reason only: to stop the ocean from swallowing the country. As the storm intensifies, the giant gates slowly swing shut across the waterway.
Inside them, valves open. Seawater floods into the hollow steel chambers. The structures become heavier and heavier until they finally sink to the seabed like giant anchors. Then everything becomes silent.
Outside the barrier, the North Sea explodes with violent waves powerful enough to destroy entire neighborhoods.
But behind it, people continue drinking coffee.
That's the strange reality of life in the Netherlands.
Disaster can be only a few kilometers away,
while everyday life continues completely undisturbed. And almost nobody realizes how fragile this safety really is.
Because if these barriers failed for just 1 hour, Rotterdam would flood. Europe's largest port would collapse. Global trade would freeze. And millions of lives would instantly fall into chaos.
This entire country survives because engineers are constantly fighting against nature every second of every day.
And the scariest part? Nature is slowly winning. To understand why, you need to realize something shocking.
Large parts of the Netherlands are not natural land.
They are artificial. If every pump in the country suddenly stopped working tomorrow, huge sections of the Netherlands would slowly return to the sea. That sounds impossible. But it's true. Some Dutch neighborhoods sit 5, even 7 meters below sea level. You are literally walking on the bottom of what used to be the ocean.
Centuries ago, this area was nothing more than swamps, mud, and shallow coastal water.
The sea constantly flooded inland. Villages disappeared overnight. Entire communities were wiped off the map. But instead of retreating,
the Dutch decided to fight the ocean itself. They built giant walls called dikes.
They drained lakes.
They pumped water out of the land using windmills.
And slowly, they created new land from the seabed.
These reclaimed areas became known as polders.
Fields stolen directly from the ocean. It was one of the greatest engineering achievements in human history.
But hidden inside that success was a dangerous trap nobody fully understood.
Because the moment water is removed from the soil,
the ground begins to sink.
The earth dries out.
Soft peat compresses. The land slowly collapses under its own weight. So the more water the Dutch pumped out,
the lower the country became. They were saving themselves,
while simultaneously making the problem worse.
And today, the Netherlands is trapped inside that cycle.
Every year, the land sinks lower. Every year, the ocean rises higher. And every year, the margin for error becomes smaller.
But the ocean's most dangerous attack doesn't come from giant waves. It comes from underground.
While the world watches the massive sea barriers,
saltwater is quietly moving beneath them.
Through sand,
Through rock.
through the soil itself.
This process is called saltwater intrusion.
And engineers fear it because ordinary walls cannot stop it. The ocean is literally crawling underneath the country. As seawater moves inland underground, it contaminates drinking water, damages farmland, and weakens the very foundation of the country itself.
And the terrifying irony is this: the more water the Dutch pump out to keep the land dry,
the more space they create for seawater underground. It's like trying to empty a sinking boat while the ocean rises through the floorboards.
Invisible, silent, relentless. Scientists now monitor underground sensors every hour of every day because they know the real battle is no longer just happening above ground. It's happening beneath people's feet. And then there's another terrifying problem. The Netherlands isn't built on solid rock.
Much of the country rests on soft mud, sand, and peat.
Which means the ground itself behaves almost like jelly. As sea levels change, as storms become stronger, as underground pressure shifts, entire sections of land can slowly move, sink, or weaken unexpectedly. That's why Dutch engineers spend billions every year reinforcing coastlines with sand. Not concrete. Sand. Millions of tons of it. Without constant maintenance, nature would begin tearing the country apart surprisingly fast. Every dike, every pump, every floodgate, every underground sensor must work perfectly. Every second. Forever. Because this isn't a battle you win once. It's a battle you fight forever. And maybe that's the most fascinating thing about the Netherlands. This country proves something extraordinary about humanity. People looked at a place that should have been underwater and decided to build a civilization there anyway. Not because it was easy,
but because they refused to surrender. Today, the Dutch have become some of the world's greatest water engineers.
Countries around the globe now study their technology.
But even the Netherlands knows there is no final victory over the ocean. Only temporary control. As long as the pumps continue running, as long as the barriers keep closing, as long as engineers stay awake through the night, the country survives one more day.
But the ocean never stops waiting.
And with rising sea levels, stronger storms, and sinking land, humanity may soon discover the limits of engineering itself. So the next time you see peaceful canals, tulip fields, or windmills in the Netherlands, remember this: beneath the beauty is one of the greatest survival stories on Earth.
A country permanently balancing between civilization and the sea. And the battle is far from over.